A couple in their 60s were walking along the beach, admiring the sunset. The wife sees a dirty lamp, and the husband stoops down to dust it off. Magically, a genie appears and thanks the couple for freeing him from his imprisonment.
"As a reward,"
the genie says,
"I'll grant you each one wish."
The wife says,
"I want to sail around the world. Send me and my husband on a first-class luxury cruise."
She is suddenly holding 2 tickets for a cruise on the finest luxury ship in the world. The genie then turns to the husband and asks,
"And for you, sir, what will your wish be?"
The husband looks at his wife, then leans in close to the genie and whispers, "I want a wife that is 30 years younger than me." He is suddenly 90 years old. The flight attendant realized she didn't have enough meals for all of her passengers. While airborne for less than 30 minutes, she nervously made the following announcement.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so very sorry, but it appears that there has been a terrible error by our airport catering service. I don't know how this has happened, but we have 107 passengers on board, and unfortunately, only 40 dinner meals. I truly apologize for this mistake and inconvenience.
After the passenger muttering died down, she continued.
Anyone who is kind enough to give up their meal so that someone else can eat will receive free, unlimited drinks, alcoholic or otherwise, for the duration of our flight.
Her next announcement came 90 minutes later.
If anyone would like to swap their choice, we still have 40 dinner meals available.
When Bob and Steve met each other on the street one day, Bob noticed that Steve had a terrible cold. "Have you seen a doctor about that cold?" he asked.
"No,"
said Steve,
"but I probably should."
"Do you know a good doctor?" Bob gave him the name of his own doctor and assured him that he'd be in good hands. About a week later, they met again, and Bob wasn't sure if the cold was really better. "Did you see my doctor?" asked Bob.
"Oh, yeah,"
Steve replied.
"He was a really nice guy."
"Well, did he give you something to help your cold?"
"Sure did,"
Steve answered somewhat enthusiastically.
"He told me to drink a big glass of fresh orange juice after a hot bath."
"Well, did it help?" Bob asked hesitantly.
"How do I know?"
Steve replied.
"I haven't finished drinking the bath yet."
One Sunday morning, the pastor slowly made his way to the rural church in the middle of a blizzard, arriving with just 5 minutes to spare. He walked in, turned on the lights, and looked around. No one else was there. As he was about to turn everything off and go back home, an old farmer walked in covered in snow. The pastor said, "Oh, hello, Bill. Looks like nobody else could make it. I guess we won't have a service today." The old farmer looked at him for a few seconds and said,
"Well, Reverend, I know I'm just an old farmer, but I can tell you this. If I can take a load of hay out to the field and feed my cattle, and only one cow shows up, I still feed it."
The pastor, embarrassed, said, "Of course, you're right. I will go get ready." So the pastor started the service and, being inspired by the farmer's faith and dedication, preached fervently for a full 2 hours. When the service was over, the pastor went over to the farmer and said, "So, Bill, I hope you enjoyed today's sermon." The old farmer looked at him, shook his head, and said,
"Reverend, if I go out to feed the cattle, and only one cow shows up, I still feed it. But I sure don't give it the whole frickin' load."
3 biker buddies are sitting in a bar. A man, who's already heavily intoxicated, walks in, sits down, and orders a drink. The man looks around and sees the 3 bikers sitting at a table in a corner of the bar. He gets up, staggers over to their table, and leans over it. Looking the biggest of the 3 men in the eye, the drunk man says,
I went by your grandma's house and saw her completely naked through the window. Man, she's fine.
The biker looks at the drunk man and doesn't say anything. His buddies look confused because people have had their faces kicked in for saying less than that to him in the past. Leaning against the table once more, the drunk man says,
I slept with your grandma, too. She's the best I ever had.
Still, no response is received from the biker. However, his buddies are now starting to get angry. The drunk man continues,
I'll tell you something else, too. Your grandma loved it.
Finally, the biker stands up and says,
You're drunk! Damn it, Grandpa, go home!
As the general entered the barracks, he found that none of his soldiers were there. One finally ran up, panting heavily. Sorry, sir, I can explain. You see, I had a date, and it ran a little late. I ran to the bus, but I missed it. I hailed a cab, but it broke down. I found a farm and bought a horse, but it dropped dead. I ran 10 miles, and now I'm here. The general was very skeptical about this explanation, but at least he was here, so he let the soldier go. Moments later, 8 more soldiers ran up to the general panting. He asked them why they were late, and each had the same reply. Sorry, sir, I had a date and it ran a little late. I ran to the bus but missed it, hailed a cab and it broke down. I found a farm and bought a horse but it dropped dead, and then I ran 10 miles and now I'm here. The general eyed them, feeling very skeptical, but since he let the first guy go, he let them go too. A 10th soldier jogged up to the general, panting heavily.
Sorry, sir, I had a date, and it ran a little late. But I ran to the bus, but I missed it. I hailed a cab, but...
Let me guess, the general interrupted. It broke down.
No,
said the soldier.
There were so many dead horses in the road, it took forever to get around them.
An older, gray-haired man walked into a jewelry store with a beautiful young girl at his side. He told the jeweler he was looking for a special ring for his girlfriend. The jeweler looked through his stock, then he brought out a $500 ring and showed it to him. The old man said, I don't think you understand. I want something very special. The jeweler went to his special stock and returned with another ring.
Here's a stunning ring at only $20,000,
the jeweler said. The young lady's eyes sparkled and her whole body trembled with excitement. Seeing this, the old man said, We'll take it. The jeweler asked if he would like to finance it, and the old man stated he would pay by check. The old man told him, I know you need to make sure my check is good, so I'll write it now and you can call the bank on Monday to verify the funds. I'll pick the ring up Monday afternoon. Monday morning, a very angry jeweler phoned the old man.
There's no money in that account,
the jeweler fumed. I know, said the old man. But can you imagine the weekend I had? A gorilla dies of old age at a zoo right before the zoo opens. It is the only gorilla at the zoo since they're not very profitable. However, the gorilla is their most popular attraction by far, and they cannot afford to go a day without it. So, the zoo owner asks one of his workers to wear a gorilla suit and pretend to be the gorilla until the zoo can afford a new one. Quickly, the new gorilla becomes the most popular craze at the zoo. People from all over are coming to see the human-like gorilla. About a month later, the craze started to wear off. So, to get people's attention back, he decides to climb over his enclosure and hang from the net ceiling above the lion's den next to him. A large crowd of people gather watching the spectacle in awe and terror. Suddenly, the man loses his grip and falls to the floor in the lion's den. The man starts screaming, Help! Help! Suddenly, a lion pounces on him from behind and whispers in his ear. Shut up, or you're going to get us both fired. The boss of a large company needed to call one of his employees about an urgent problem with one of the main computers. He dialed the employee's home phone number and was greeted with a child's whisper.
Hello?
Feeling put out at the inconvenience of having to talk to a youngster, the boss asked,
Is your daddy home?
Yes?
whispered the small voice.
May I speak with him?
The man asked. To his surprise, the small voice whispered.
No?
Wanting to talk with an adult, the boss asked,
Is your mommy there?
Yes?
came the answer.
May I talk with her?
asked the boss. Again, the small voice whispered.
No?
Knowing that it was not likely that a young child would be left home alone, the boss decided he would just leave a message with the person who should be there watching over the child.
Is there anyone there besides you?
The boss asked the child.
Yes.
Whispered the child.
A policeman.
Wondering what a police officer would be doing at his employee's home, the boss asked.
May I speak with the policeman?
No, he's busy.
Whispered the child.
Busy doing what?
Asked the boss.
Talking to Daddy and Mommy and the fireman.
Came the whispered answer. Growing concerned and even worried as he heard what sounded like a helicopter through the earpiece of the phone, the boss asked,
What is that noise?
A helicopter.
Answered the whispering voice.
What is going on there?
Asked the boss, now alarmed. In an odd whispering voice, the child answered,
The search team just landed the helicopter.
Alarmed, concerned, and more than just a little frustrated, the boss asked,
Why are they there?
Still whispering, the young voice replied with a muffled giggle.
They're looking for me.